Henry, a middle-aged man with an ordinary appearance, was often dismissed as useless by those around him. He was the son-in-law of a wealthy family, but no one in the family could comprehend why he had been allowed to marry into such a household. Everyone assumed he was lazy, unambitious, and only concerned himself with mundane errands like grocery shopping, with no plans for the future. Even Henry himself couldn't understand why he had become the object of such ridicule. His life had become a monotonous cycle of humiliation. Every passing day felt like a relentless grind. He was neither respected nor valued in the eyes of others, including his wife Jessica. However, for Henry, this was a choice. He didn't follow the path society expected of him. He harbored a secret that only he knew. But his life was on the brink of drastic change when a woman named Sarah appeared, drawing him into an adventure he could never have anticipated. One day, while buying vegetables at the market, Henry suddenly noticed a familiar figure. It was Sarah, the daughter of the prominent Richard family in the region. Despite her fragile appearance, Sarah exuded an air of determination that starkly contrasted with her delicate exterior. Spotting Henry, she approached him. "Henry, I need your help," Sarah said, her voice brimming with urgency. Henry looked up, surprised that someone like Sarah would seek him out. I don't think I can help you," he replied hesitantly. After all, he wasn't someone with any special abilities, let alone someone capable of helping others in dire situations. But Sarah refused to give up. She continued, "My grandfather, a member of my family, is in critical condition. All our hopes rest on you, the man everyone refers to as the legendary healer. Even if you don't believe it, I believe you can help him." Henry was bewildered by her words. He was just an ordinary man and couldn't understand where such rumors about him had originated. Nevertheless, Sarah's unwavering determination made it impossible for him to refuse. Eventually, Henry was drawn into a conversation with the Richard family. Everyone in the family believed Henry was the legendary healer they had been searching for to save their grandfather from a severe illness. But Henry couldn't accept such a title. He wasn't the person they thought he was, just an ordinary man living a simple life. Yet under the immense pressure from the Richard family, Henry had no choice but to face the situation. When Henry stepped into Mr. Richard's sick room, an unusual silence enveloped the space. Every gaze turned to him, from Sarah to the other family members. All of them were pinning their hopes on a miracle. Mr. Richard lay on the bed, his face pale, beads of sweat glistening on his forehead. The doctors had done everything they could, but none of it had worked. However, Henry remained calm and composed, showing neither haste nor worry. He approached the bedside and began checking Mr. Richard's pulse, gauging his breathing with each rhythm. After just a few minutes, Henry started making movements that no one in the room could understand. He closed his eyes, lightly brushed his hands over specific acupoints, and began channeling his internal energy to stimulate the vital flows within Mr. Richard's body. Everyone in the room, including Sarah, watched intently, holding their breaths, afraid to disturb the process. A short while later, as Henry completed his final movements, Mr. Richard suddenly let out a fit of coughing and slowly opened his eyes. Everyone was stunned. At what seemed to be the brink of despair, Mr. Richard appeared to come back to life. A miraculous sense of revival left everyone in disbelief. William Richard, one of the family's doctors, stood frozen, his eyes wide with astonishment. He had assumed Henry was just an ordinary man, but now he realized this was the person the Richard family had been searching for all along. This can't be an ordinary treatment," William exclaimed, looking at Henry in awe. Henry said nothing, calmly wiping the sweat from his brow as he stood up. While he felt satisfied with what he had done, he had no desire to draw attention to himself. Nonetheless, the admiring gazes from everyone made him sense a shift in his relationship with the Richard family. After Henry successfully saved Mr. Richard, another member of the family, Mr. George, began scheming to take advantage of the situation. Mr. George, a man of power and ambition within the family, never hesitated to exploit any opportunity to strengthen his position. He approached Jessica, Henry's wife, and attempted to persuade her with sweet words laced with underlying threats. "Jessica, if you want to save your family from ruin, you must divorce Henry. Agree to this, and I'll ensure your family's safety, and provide you with a substantial fortune. Jessica stood silent for a moment, contemplating, before replying, "Do you think I would leave my husband for money? Henry is the man I love, and I won't do it." However, Mr. George was relentless. He handed Jessica a vial of medicine, claiming it could save Mr. Richard again if his condition worsened. "If you help me, I'll give you anything you want. You just have to choose the right path." Henry quickly noticed the unusual nature of the vial Mr. George had given his wife. He knew it was nothing more than a useless concoction, incapable of healing Mr. Richard. Determined not to let Mr. George deceive anyone further, Henry decided to take action. When Mr. Richard's condition began to deteriorate again, the Richard family once more pleaded for Henry's help. This time he avoided risky techniques and instead used genuinely effective medicinal ingredients for the treatment. He addressed everyone. "We don't need that so-called medicine. What we need is knowledge and patience. I will heal Mr. Richard without resorting to anyone's schemes." Henry carefully examined the medicine Mr. George had presented, exposing its ineffectiveness and uncovering his deceit. Furious at being caught, Mr. George could do nothing but seethe with frustration as his plot unraveled. When Henry successfully treated Mr. Richard and proved his abilities, the Richard family's attitude began to shift. Though they had initially doubted him, they could no longer deny his talent and unique skills. During a family meeting, Henry stood up and asserted, "If you want my help, you must respect both me and my wife. We will no longer tolerate being looked down upon or taken advantage of. Only when Jessica and I are treated fairly will I continue to assist your family." After Henry made his stance clear and demanded respect for himself and his wife, tension filled the room. Many in the family, particularly those aligned with Mr. George, struggled to accept this sudden change. However, no one dared to openly oppose him, as Henry's results had undeniably proven his worth. Sarah, having witnessed everything, became Henry's strongest supporter. She realized that beyond helping her family, Henry had the potential to aid many others if treated with fairness. She began actively advocating for this idea within the family, persuading other members that Henry was not just an unusual individual, but a true benefactor. Though proud of his accomplishments, Henry remained humble, refusing to let his growing reputation overshadow his goals. His mission extended beyond healing the sick. He sought to teach the Richard family the values of honesty and respect. Henry envisioned a society where everyone could live and contribute, not because of wealth or status, but through effort and integrity. Just as things seemed to settle, new challenges arose. One day, Henry received an unexpected invitation from another prominent family, the Williams family. They requested his assistance in treating their elder, Liam, who was suffering from a grave illness that no one had been able to cure. Henry knew this was no ordinary invitation. The Williams family was a powerful clan with extensive ties among the nobility. Their influence was vast, and their dark secrets were likely many. Unsure of what helping them might entail, Henry decided not to decline, as he felt it was his duty as a healer. Upon arriving at the Williams estate, Henry immediately sensed the tension and intrigue permeating the grand mansion. Liam, the patient he was tasked with saving, was a proud and aloof man, vastly different from Mr. Richard, whom Henry had treated before. Nevertheless, Henry refused to let the patient's demeanor affect his work. He began his treatment, employing a combination of advanced medical techniques and martial arts to heal Liam. During the process, Henry uncovered that Liam's illness was not merely a physical condition, but one deeply intertwined with the schemes and power struggles within the Williams family. As Henry delved deeper into treating Liam, he gradually uncovered the hidden secrets of the Williams family. Liam wasn't just suffering from illness. He had been poisoned long ago, a victim of the family's internal power struggles, where ambition and greed reigned supreme. Henry didn't just heal Liam's physical ailments. He also helped him come to terms with the reality of his family's machinations. Offering heartfelt advice, Henry said, "If you want to live a healthy life, it's not just your body, but also your soul that needs to be freed from schemes and manipulations." Initially skeptical and distrustful of Henry, Liam began to recognize his sincerity and abilities over time. As he recovered and gained clarity about the dynamics within his family, Liam decided to change his attitude and opened up to Henry. While things in the Williams family were beginning to stabilize, Henry faced even more challenging problems within his own family. One day, Jessica, his wife, came to him with tear-filled eyes. She said, "Henry, I don't know what to do anymore. Our family is under threat. Mr. George hasn't given up on his attempts to ruin us. What can you do to help us?" Henry looked at his wife with unwavering determination. He understood that it wasn't just him, but also his family and loved ones who were in danger. He couldn't stand idly by while they were forced into hardship. Resolving to protect those he cared about, he decided to rise and fight, not just for himself, but for everyone dear to him. In the end, Henry faced a monumental decision. He wasn't merely confronting the Richard family, but also powerful forces in society. His journey was no longer just about healing. It became a battle to uphold human values, to ensure that his family and those he loved would not be crushed under the weight of ambition and envy. When everything seemed to have settled into place, Henry faced an even greater challenge from Mr. George. After failing to force Henry to divorce his wife, Mr. George, unable to bear the humiliation, devised a plan to destroy him. On that day, during a family meeting, Mr. George appeared with an air of confidence. He announced that their family had gained the backing of a powerful ally, promising to eliminate all obstacles to achieve their goals. Thus, a new covert battle began. Henry knew Mr. George wouldn't stop there. From using poison to orchestrating devastating attacks to ruin Henry's reputation and honor, Mr. George employed every trick in the book. However, Henry was not easily subdued. He understood that to protect his family and loved ones, he needed to be stronger than ever. He began devising countermeasures, not just with strength, but with intelligence and perseverance. Rather than confronting Mr. George head-on, Henry chose to employ psychological tactics and clever strategies. He recognized that someone like Mr. George, with his arrogant nature, could easily be manipulated in situations beyond his control. With the help of Sarah and a few trusted friends, Henry started gathering evidence of Mr. George's wrongdoings and dark schemes. He crafted an intricate plan, meticulously calculating every move, leaving Mr. George completely blindsided. By orchestrating a situation where Mr. George exposed his own schemes in front of the family and business partners, Henry dealt a devastating blow to his rival's credibility. At that moment, the Richard family, who had once doubted him, began to change their attitude. They saw Henry's intelligence and resilience, and gradually realized that he was the only one capable of protecting their family from greed and injustice. When Mr. George's conspiracies were laid bare, the Richard family was left with no choice but to reassess Henry. No longer was he seen as a mere outsider. Instead, he became a man of talent and true character in their eyes. Sarah, who had always trusted and supported Henry, now became his steadfast ally. She stood up to defend Henry, not just out of love, but also out of deep respect for everything he had accomplished. The Richard family, once renowned for their power and wealth, now had to learn to value something beyond material possessions. Henry not only saved them from Mr. George's schemes, but also taught them a lesson about patience, honesty, and respect. Mr. George ultimately could not escape his downfall. His schemes were exposed to the entire family and business partners. When everyone learned that he had used poison and deceitful tactics to harm Henry and the Richard family, he was ostracized and lost all support. In their final confrontation, Henry did not need to take direct action. He simply exposed Mr. George's wrongdoings, allowing the world to deliver its own justice. Stripped of his perfect facade, Mr. George was cast out from both his family and society. He was no longer a threat. Once everything settled, Henry was no longer regarded as useless. The Richard family began to see him as a person of true value. Not only was he a brilliant healer, but he was also a man of wisdom and integrity. He proved that wealth and power alone do not guarantee a fulfilling and happy life. Jessica, his wife, felt prouder than ever of the man she had chosen. Though their lives had faced many challenges, she always believed in Henry's resilience and strength. Henry's victory was not just in protecting his family, but also in helping the Richard family realize the importance of respect and fairness. He no longer needed to prove himself because his actions had already spoken volumes. Henry and Jessica's lives now entered a new chapter. They had weathered every storm, and nothing could hold them back anymore. Henry was no longer the unremarkable man people once thought he was. He became a symbol of determination and compassion. The Richard family, who once doubted him, now understood that Henry was the most trustworthy person to guide them toward a better future. Alongside Sarah and his trusted allies, Henry embarked on a new journey, not just in medicine but in building a society rooted in fairness and goodness. Thus, the story of Henry, the man once looked down upon, became a tale of resilience, honesty, and courage. He did not just heal bodies but also mended hearts that had been consumed by selfishness and greed. After the trials Henry had overcome, the Richard family gradually became a stronger organization, not only financially but also spiritually. The members of the family learned the value of respect and responsibility. They no longer viewed power and wealth as the determining factors in life, but instead embraced character and courage. Henry, with his achievements, became the one who brought everyone together. Sarah, now not only a supporter of Henry, but also a key partner in his plans, had learned a valuable lesson from him. Nothing is more important than integrity and love for others. Together with Henry, she began charitable projects to help the poor and vulnerable in society. Meanwhile, Jessica, Henry's wife, remained his steadfast supporter, always encouraging and motivating him. She understood that it wasn't just grand achievements, but love and sacrifice that had helped them overcome all the challenges. Their family had truly become a symbol of perseverance and resilience, rising above life's storms. Henry understood that life never stops at one point, but always presents new opportunities and challenges. He didn't want to just stop at healing and protecting his family. He wanted to spread the positive values he had learned from his struggles. With the help of Sarah and his trusted friends, Henry began joining medical organizations, seeking ways to pass on his skills to the next generation. He wanted to create a healthcare system that was not only based on science, but also integrated with traditional methods, allowing those without resources to receive help. From his experiences, Henry began writing books on medicine, sharing the knowledge he had accumulated throughout his years of healing and living a life of honesty. His books became an inspiration to many in the medical community and those searching for meaning in life. One day, Henry received an invitation from an international medical organization to travel to a distant land to help those affected by an epidemic. This was a new challenge, an opportunity for him to truly change the fate of those suffering. Henry knew this was a significant step, not only to help those in need of treatment, but also as a way for him to continue contributing to life. He discussed it with Jessica, and she understood that this was an opportunity they could not pass up. Though they would be apart for an extended period, the love and respect they had for each other would help them endure the distance. Henry set off, carrying with him the belief that no matter where he was, he would continue to do good and spread the values he always cherished. Jessica stayed behind, continuing her work with the Richard family and accompanying him in their charitable projects. As the years passed, Henry returned with a steady heart, filled with pride. He had helped many people on his journey, and the values he left behind were not only about medicine, but also about compassion and respect. Henry never saw himself as a great man. He always viewed himself as an ordinary person doing good things. He hoped that the next generation would continue and bring these values to the community. Upon his return, Henry decided to open a medical school where students would not only learn how to heal, but also how to face difficulties, challenges, and do good for life. Henry and Jessica finally enjoyed peaceful years together after overcoming many storms and difficulties. They were no longer people who had to fight every day to protect their honor or interests. Instead, they were people building a life of peace, happiness, and love. They continued their charitable work, helping the vulnerable and spreading good values to the community. They no longer needed to prove anything because their lives had proven it all. In the end, Henry found the peace he had always longed for, not through power or fame, but through love and unwavering dedication to doing good. Henry's story is a long journey full of challenges, but also a testament to the strength of resilience, integrity, and love. A man who was once seen as useless and cowardly became a symbol of rising above and overcoming adversity. His journey is not only a story of healing, but also a story about humanity, love, family, and the noble values that we all can pursue. Thank you for following the inspiring and meaningful story of Henry. His journey of overcoming challenges, fighting for family, love, and compassion has proven the infinite strength of resilience and integrity. And if this story has touched your heart, I hope you will continue to join us and support the upcoming content on the channel. To not miss out on new and exciting stories, don't forget to click subscribe and turn on notifications. Great stories will always be updated, offering you moments of entertainment, reflection, and learning. Please share these videos with your friends and family to spread positive values. Thank you for your support. We are always ready to provide the best content for the community who love authentic, profound, and inspiring stories. Continue following and supporting the Life Tales channel so we can share these wonderful stories together. Wishing you a great and joyful day.